Police officers of the Eastern Division have cracked a housebreaking ring in which Eastern New Providence residents were the targets. But stolen merchandise still captured by culprits. They're valued at more than $10,000. Police arrested 2 males and 2 females in connection with the ring. They range in age from 17 to 19 years old. They're expected to be charged in court on Wednesday. Police say this particular group is linked to 8 housebreak-ins in the East. Stolen items include clothing, flat-screen TVs, cell phones, laptops, and tennis shoes. Superintendent in charge of the Eastern District, Ismelda Davis, says some 40 housebreak-ins occurred in the East since January.
Breaking into people's home, and obviously there is a market out there. People are purchasing these items. If you purchase these items and you know clearly that what you purchase them for on the street is not what the shop value, obviously that there is a larger group of persons that we need to target. We have some concerns in this area, and I believe other commanders may be able to speak to the same issues that are affecting their areas.
Now, police believe that the persons arrested are part of a much bigger crime ring targeting various areas of New Providence.
The investigation is still ongoing because we believe that this is part of a larger ring, those 4 persons, and I believe over the period of time we've had a number of break-ins, and so we're going to continue this investigation because we believe that there may be some other persons that are involved in this. We had 1 person who was charged for unlawful possession, and 3 persons were charged for attempted housebreaking, 4 counts of housebreaking, and 4 counts of stealing from a dwelling home.
The Princess Margaret Hospital has acquired an instrument vital to saving lives. The first human papilloma testing laboratory, or HPV lab, was officially opened this morning at a cost exceeding $100,000. Carla Palmer has details.
The sexually transmitted human papillomavirus, HPV, is the main cause of cervical cancer and is the number 2 cancer affecting women in the Bahamas. With approximately 1,500 women between 13 to 29 years here required to take the HPV test annually, officials highlight the lab as a vital instrument that will save lives. Pathologist Dr. Olga Stokes.
Here we are, and for our donors, this project is complete. But for us who receive the gift, it is far from over. Our work does not have an end.
Once cervical abnormalities are detected through a routine pap smear, next, the new lab's HPV equipment will test to assist in the early detection of cancer with a view to treating it quickly. Before this lab, test results were sent abroad, costing approximately $200. Health Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says no woman should die of this preventable cancer.
We have here in the Bahamas about 40 to 45 cases of cervical cancer annually. And that causes great financial burden within the health sector, both primary and secondary financial burden. We have not yet conquered nor penetrated the society as much as we should. I've been told that still only about 15 to 20% of our female population present themselves for pap smear. And that 80% that we do not see can pose problems to themselves and society.
The Rotary Club donated the life-saving equipment and training. Past President of Southeast Nassau, Frank McGuire.
It's important to note that 100% of all funds raised from the community by Rotarians are returned to the community in this type of project. And Rotarians will continue to answer the needs of our community for many years to come.
Carla Palmer, ZNS News.
The chairman of the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas has issued a statement on the resignation of Jerome Sawyer. Here's Altaviz Munnings with Chairman Moss's statement.
In a press statement issued yesterday, ZNS Chairman Michael Moss confirming that it is untrue that ZNS TV host Jerome Sawyer was fired or forced to resign by the corporation's chairman or its board. The release stated that Mr. Sawyer was hired by the present board in November 2007 under the terms of a contract approved by the board. Mr. Sawyer tendered his resignation with 1 month's notice as per the terms of his contract, reportedly to take up an offer in the private sector. The charge that Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham is using ZNS as his personal propaganda machine, Mr. Moss says, is laughable. Chairman Moss pointed out that Prime Minister Ingraham is the only Bahamian leader to have voluntarily relinquished control of the media when he ended ZNS's broadcasting monopoly in 1993 and changed the whole culture of fear and victimization that existed in this country. According to Chairman Moss, the current board has sought to ensure as far as possible that ZNS's news and programming achieves balance and is in conformity with the corporation's established editorial policy guidelines, which require, among other things, accuracy and fairness, as well as with the broadcasting rules issued by the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority. Mr. Moss noted that those who have other motives, who jealously controlled the airwaves in the past to their personal benefit, and who deliberately, quote, doctored the news, will no doubt misconstrue the current news presentation. ZNS board also continues to believe that ZNS's current affairs program needs to be expanded and improved as part of its public service mandate within the context of a strict fiscal regime. The ZNS chairman maintains that this is in sharp contrast to the inactivity of the previous board, which failed to produce audited financial statements as required by law for the entire 5 years it had oversight of ZNS. That inactivity, Mr. Moss says, did not extend to hiring. In fact, he says there was a massive buildup of employment at ZNS between 2002 and 2007, notwithstanding consultants' reports urging a downsizing. Mr. Moss indicated that there will likely always be charges of bias in a government corporation during an election season. In fact, the Broadcasting Corporation's board receives frequent complaints in this regard from all sides of the political spectrum, but has no intention of micromanaging news coverage in response to such charges. The current board continues to believe that transforming ZNS into an autonomous public service broadcaster is the only real solution to this concern. The board has made progress in that regard, but Mr. Moss says we're not there yet. Now, whether ZNS remains a state-run enterprise, becomes an autonomous entity, or is eventually privatized, the ZNS chairman said serious and responsible attention must be given to the operational and financial health of the organization. The current board has been diligently addressing these matters over the past 5 years. The release stated that the board of the Broadcasting Corporation has eliminated the backlog of neglected audited financial reports. It has made royalty payments of $2 million to the Performing Rights Society over 4 years, largely to the benefit of local recording artists, and committed to a further payment of $500,000 in the coming financial year to address failure by ZNS to make royalty payments over a protracted period. The current Broadcasting Corporation board has also resolved industrial agreements with the corporation's 2 unions, renegotiated its satellite uplink service agreement, saving almost $700,000 in fees annually, restructured management, and reduced overmanning by some 30%. The release from the board of the Broadcasting Corporation concluded that over the past 5 years, the board has succeeded in reducing ZNS's operating losses while preparing the corporation for a multi-million-dollar digital transformation entirely dependent on government financing. Implementation of this digitalization has already begun and is expected to be completed this year. I'm Altaviz Munnings, ZNS News.
Employees of financially strapped city markets are pushing to secure their financial benefits. Today, at least 200 of them gathered at the Department of Labor, where a trade dispute was filed on their behalf. Chief Inventory Control Officer Wanslaw Turnquest told ZNS News today that the group is looking to secure their pensions, salaries, vacation pay, and other benefits. It's reported that the food store chain could close anytime after Wednesday of this week. Workers will meet with a legal team on Wednesday at the Central Church of Christ on the Tonic William Starling Highway.
Welcome to tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Let's take a look at what's making business news today. Bahamas Chamber of Commerce President Winston Roll recently toured the new container port at Arawak Key to update his organization on the progress of the developments there. Hosting the tour was Arawak Port Development CEO Mike Mora, who briefed the Chamber President on the state-of-the-art complex, which facilitates general cargo, bulk, and break bulk operations. The Ministry of Finance reminding business owners that Friday is the deadline for financial results and payment to the Financial Secretary on the relevant business license tax. Unless arrangements have been made to pay the outstanding amount, owners will only be in compliance with the Act, and a business tax compliance receipt will only be issued if all taxes due and payable under the Real Property Tax Act have been paid for their property or premises. In international business, Lion Gates Entertainment, whose studio released The Hunger Games in the United States and several overseas markets, jumped 3.9% in early Monday trading on news that the movie took in $155 million in U.S. ticket sales over the weekend. And that will end tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Thanks so much for watching.